Hi, welcome to Reality Check. I'm Melanie Baker.
I'm Walter Johnson.
And tonight we're going to be talking about prophecies and earth changes.
Right.
Kind of just a general overview of what's going to, according to some people, what's going to be happening over the next few years. And it's just a possibility once again.
Right. These are all just possibilities that can be alleviated and changed.
Right. Enough energy in the right direction can change anything. So we just want to make that known ahead of time. But first of all, we want to mention that if you have any questions or comments about any of the shows that we do, you can reach us through our website. Our website is realitycheck.homepad.com, and you can send us email through the website to ask any questions that you may have.
Right.
You can check on. We're working on our archives and upcoming shows pages right now.
Trying to get our
history
together.
We have quite a few things on the page. If you want to find out more about us or any of the shows, you can check there. Also, you can reach us by email directly at realitycheck101@hotmail.com. And if you don't want to go through the website, you can get to us that way. And if you don't have a computer, you can always leave a message for us here at the studio at 232-4434, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Right.
I also want to mention there's a new group forming called SOULS. It's Society of Universal Light Seekers. And it's a group that's basically being formed to talk about spiritual issues. It's basically about sharing knowledge, and they'll be sponsoring workshops and that sort of thing, and just basically getting people together to discuss metaphysical things and spiritual things.
They're trying to get together and discuss the different paths that are out there.
If you're interested in SOULS or finding out more about it, you can email lightseekers@hotmail.com. Or you can get to the SOULS site through our Reality Check site as well. So if you go to the Reality Check site, we do have a link for SOULS, and you can find out more about it that way. So if you have any questions about that as well, you can give us a call at the studio, 232-4434, and we'll give you the information that you need on that. Okay. Also, our book of the month this month is Mary's Message to the World, and that's this book right here. It's by Annie Kirkwood, and Mary's Message to the World is another book that basically has a lot of prophecies in it.
It's a very specific person's apparition, what they've received from Mary. And we'll kind of be overviewing some of the many different prophecies that I more or less have originated with her, but we'll get into the details here in just a little while.
Right.
But please make sure and try to read this book for next month, or for actually the next show.
Next week's show is going to be our discussion about Mary's Message to the World. And if you haven't read it yet, I suggest you pick up a copy and read it. It's really informative. And if you're Catholic or on a very specific religious path, it kind of helps you to look at an overview of all the religious paths and kind of get more of a spectrum of what's going on.
Because even she said, well, see, I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll tell you what she says in that book next week.
Right. So again, Mary's Message to the World by Annie Kirkwood, and we'll be reviewing that book on next week's show. And we'll also announce next month's Book of the Month on next week's show.
And also, if you've had a lot of bad attitude directed towards you from some people who tend to have a more Catholic view, don't let that frighten you from this book, because it's not a Catholic
No, it's really not
book.
at all.
In fact, she approached this person because they weren't Catholic. So don't let that scare you from the book. It's very open-minded.
It very much is. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having it on reality.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, tonight's topic again is Earth Changes and Prophecies, and we're going to take a short break. And we'll be back in just a few minutes, and we're going to show you quite a few things and discuss some things, and hopefully we'll get some calls later in the show, and you can share with us anything that you might know that we're missing, or any questions that you may have as well. So we'll take a break, we'll be right back, and we'll talk about Earth Changes. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome back to Reality Check. Tonight we're talking about prophecies and Earth Changes. And I guess the first place to go would be one of the more commonly known people who, modern prophets that is, which is Gordon Michael Scallion. Gordon Michael Scallion began, he had really his first vision in 1978, and he's been having visions ever since then.
Right.
Maybe you can tell better the story of how
he fell ill, seriously. In fact, he was in the hospital about to die, and he was visited in his room one night by this luminous being. It turned out to be a lady, and she told him that, you know, it wasn't his time to die, that he had work he needed to do here, and he was healed of this, and I should know the illness, but I can't remember. We've got a lot of knowledge in here tonight. Anyway, so he, after this, began to have these visions. He could see inside someone and tell if they were ill. He could see their auras around them. And then he slowly started getting these prophecy of the coming earth changes. And I think Mel's got a few noted here, so we'll give you some specific prophecies.
All right. One thing, in the U.S., for example, we'll show you, actually he's made a map of his vision of what the world will look like after these earth changes. And this is the world map right here that we have up.
If you'll look to your left, top left, you'll see where the North American continent lies, and that, for the most part, all of us living here in Louisiana need to really, you know, learn to swim, because
pretty much
we're going to be surfing pretty soon.
We have quite a few maps to show you tonight.
Right.
And actually, most of the maps have Louisiana completely missing.
Just
I've never seen one that has Louisiana still on it.
Now, everyone receives these prophecies. There's a little different take on the actual, you know, lay of the land. And some of these can be, you know, a few years from now, and then some of these might be, you know, centuries on down the road. So, I mean, this is not an exact science we're dealing with.
If you can show that U.S. map again, I'm going to kind of explain a little bit what's going on there. Okay, he has prophecies that the major global earth changes will begin in the United States as the North American plates buckle, creating the Isles of California, which you can see on the map, just little tiny islands there. 150 islands in all. Eventually, through tectonic plate buckling and fractures followed by inundations, the west coast will recede eastwards in Nebraska, Wyoming, and Colorado.
Right.
So basically, you'll be on the beach in Colorado.
Right.
So that's just one of the predictions here. The Great Lakes and the St. Lawrence Seaway will join and flow through the Mississippi River to the Gulf of Mexico.
Thusly eliminating all of us that will still be remaining in this lovely state.
Completely wiped out underwater. So coastal areas from Maine to Florida will be inundated and pushed in for many miles. So all the way from Maine down to Florida, it's pretty much going to flood and kind of squinch it inwards somehow. Right. This is all according to Gordon Michael Scallion, by the way. These aren't our personal opinions, but these are according to him. If we can possibly show that world map again by Gordon Michael Scallion, I'm probably giving the director a headache here.
I'm sure we are. He's pretty good. Go.
Okay. Mexico, as you can see on the map, coastal areas of Mexico will be inundated far inland. The California Baja will become a series of islands. Most of the Yucatan Peninsula will be lost in the sea. Volcanic and seismic activity will continue into the 21st century. Central America will be inundated and reduced to a series of islands. And there's just a number of things. As you can see, Africa, for example, there are In Gordon Michael Scallion's predictions, Egypt is pretty much underwater, that whole area of Africa. But I've seen other maps by other prophets, and I've heard them say that Egypt is the only part left of Africa. So it's kind of hard to say if any of them are accurate, or if so, which one is.
Right. Well, the thing we have to remind people again is that all these prophecies are given along with the note that any of them can be changed. None of this is written in stone. These are just possible futures if we continue on the path we're on now. It can be alleviated and lessened. I don't know if it can be halted because these are natural occurring earth changes that the earth goes through on a regular basis. There were civilizations before us, at least two that I know of, Lemuria, which was older than the mythology of Atlantis, and this is just a natural occurrence that will happen. The earth will shift, there will be changes in the magnetic poles, there will be changes in the
whether
equator.
or not it actually becomes this extreme,
the severity
we don't know.
of it, right. It depends
but
on
things do change, things
like
have changed.
meditation and prayer and
Every
getting the
little bit
consciousness
helps.
where it needs to be, let's put it that way.
I also have an update on the Gordon Michael Scallion predictions. Just one of his recent predictions. He has been very accurate in his past predictions.
Well, he accurately predicted both the 91, I believe, Kobe, Japan, the devastating earthquake, and then exactly a year later, the one that happened in California and killed so many people. And he had those on paper predicted like up to a year and a half, 2 years before they occurred, and they hit on the dates
This is something more recent that he's predicted. I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. It's kind of short. In view of recent exact simultaneous eruptions at Mount Etna in Italy and the hills in Montserrat in the Caribbean, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, on January 13th of this year, this is Gordon Michael Scallion's words, by the way. He says, "I consider this prediction to be fulfilled and that this event will now set in motion the resumption of quake activity along the west coast of North and South America. I sense it will begin with a quake in the 7.0 to 8.0 range in South America sometime in February or March. This will be followed by subsequent quakes of similar magnitude range in North America within 2 months following, with mid to late April being high probability windows." Then an update on that was written, that came out on January 15th. An update on that came out January 28th, which was just yesterday. 10 days after posting the January 15th update, a 6.0 earthquake hit South America with devastating loss of life and property. Since this quake was not in the 7.0 to 8.0 range, it may not be predicted. Gordon Michael Scallion says, "It may not be my predicted quake, even though it is within the time frame for such a quake to occur." He says, "I continue to sense a larger quake coming to South America prior to mega West Coast activity. As a result of the January 25th South American quake, we may also experience quakes along the west coast of North America in the 6+ range shortly." So pretty much he predicted it in like a couple weeks later. It happened. So I mean, that's just showing you some of his accuracy.
A little empirical proof.
Right. So it's kind of scary when you think about it, but at the same time, it's good that we have these people making these predictions so that we know what we can expect if things don't change. And like I said earlier, things can change.
In your searching through the Scallion files, I haven't had a chance to look at his site yet. Did you find anything, the mentioning of what was going on in Mexico towards the end of last year? The fires. That's all we were told by our media, was that there were fires in Mexico and they had no idea the origin of them. Well, on the Art Bell program, they talked about the fact that there's volcano activity taking place where none has ever taken place before. And that's a recurring theme in these prophecies, that places that's never had seismic activity or volcanic activity will suddenly start having them. And as you can see by what happened with the Mexico thing, our media is not going to let people know what's going on because they don't want to panic on their hands. But I don't know if they had any details about
I didn't see anything personally on the Mexico thing, but a little later I do have a listing of recent earth changes and even not just earth changes, but recent things that have come to pass, like in the last month, and we'll talk about that in a little while. Because
this involves everything, the weather patterns, the atmospheric conditions. It's not just earthquakes and eruptions and things like that. And besides Gordon Michael Scallion, there are several people who have predicted
much of the same types of things. I mean, he goes all the way back to Nostradamus
Of course.
and Edgar Casey and lots of people along the way.
Right.
I mean, even the Bible and several people in this century have predicted things as well. But
Now, yeah, here we go, the
Yeah.
Nostradamus
right here, this is
map.
someone's rendition of what Nostradamus' predictions said the North American continent will look like. Which even when Nostradamus was alive, North America wasn't even discovered.
known, right.
But he still wrote about it. And according to this map, which is what someone wrote about Nostradamus' predictions, the black part you see is actually, according to them, what's left. Everything else is gone.
Now, they don't really give a time frame of when this land...
Nostradamus basically said the beginning of the 21st century,
Right.
somewhere around that area, the end of the 20th century to the beginning of the 21st century, which doesn't give us a whole lot of time. Basically, all the people that have predicted this have predicted it somewhere in that area,
Right.
which is probably like about a 20-year time span between, like, say 1995 to, this is just an estimate,
Right.
2015. Most of the prophecies
That sounds good.
are...
2015 definitely sounds like a good
Most
year.
of them are in that area, so they're not that far apart, you know, all these people's predictions. So,
The thing again is a lot of people get hung up on this, oh no, it's the year 2000, you know, what's going to happen. The thing you have to remember is the Gregorian calendar that we operate under is terribly off. That's why we have the leap year every 4
Right.
years to adjust for the problem with our own calendar. The Mayan calendar, which is scientifically
just
the
about
most
to mention.
accurate. Well, if you have more notes, go ahead.
I
But
don't
it
have any notes
says-
on it, I was just about to mention.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, it talks about that 2015-ish is closer
Right.
to what would be 2000. So,
Yeah, because
might kinda
our
confuse some
calendar
people.
is totally, the solar calendar, the lunar calendar are totally
Right.
different.
Completely.
The Mayan calendar is off, like you said,
It's
it's
the
one of the more
closest.
accurate
Right.
calendars, and it's off from what we know now. So you kind of have to give the time thing a little variation in both directions.
again, this is not an exact science.
Yeah. So also we have behind us, the map that we have behind us is a map that was, it's called I Am America. It's the I Am America map, and we have it up on the screen right here. And it's Laurie Toy's map, and as you see on the screen, once again, Louisiana is just totally wiped out.
Not there.
And California is basically a series of islands. It's basically the same thing that we're
We have the
seeing.
new West Coast in Colorado, and of course we can all go swim in Arizona Bay. And
But everyone, I mean, on her map, there is a lot more left than on the Scout
right.
map.
Again,
or,
it's the, you know, different people get different vibrations
But
from their predictions.
you'll notice that for the most part, on all the maps, the parts that still are remaining on each map, like say the one with the least,
Right.
so the one with the least parts remaining, the Nostradamus,
The
map,
Nostradamus, right.
they're also the same parts that are still going to be here
Right.
on the other maps. So
The
I mean,
central
they're basically saying the
Colorado
same parts
area.
are still going to be
Right.
here.
And then to
so.
the east a little bit.
Right, and basically Laurie Toy, the way she, this is her map here, the way she got her information is she was just a normal housewife.
Right.
Just she had kids. She never looked into anything metaphysical. She never thought of having any of these kinds of things occur.
Right.
And she started dreaming in 1983 of these ascended masters, and these masters were like four beings in white robes, and basically they kept showing her over and over again this picture of this map.
Right.
And she had no idea what it was. She just at first ignored it for like 5 years. She kept having the dream and just didn't do anything about it. She finally told someone, and when she told someone, they say, well, maybe, well, she had told friends and stuff like that,
Right.
but she finally told like someone who paid attention.
Right.
And they decided to try to make a map of what she saw, because the information might be something important that the world needs to know about, since it was reoccurring that way. So basically they sat and they made a map, you know, through meditation and her dreams and that sort of thing. They asked these beings, these four beings, if the things that they were drawing were accurate and that
Right.
sort of thing, and they came up with this map that we just showed you, which is the I Am America map.
Right.
So that's basically what her story is, and she's, I mean, I'm sure it's been changed a little bit here and there. Like all of these maps have been altered through the years, and they've been changed as time goes on because of more prophecies coming, and because of the
And
growing awareness
exactly.
and the growing people that are enlightened trying to change the way the world is going to end up if we don't wake up and do something about it.
Well, all these prophecies, as their origins start out, they're always the people who become these modern day prophets are told, you know, these are not written in stone. This is just what's coming if we don't change the path we're on. With the right awareness and with enough people becoming aware, that'll lessen the severity. There's no way to stop it. These earth changes are coming. It's a natural evolution of the planet. But the severity really relies on our ability to figure out that we need to change.
Right. So it can.
And we don't have a lot of time.
It has begun to happen.
Oh yeah.
I mean, some of these things have been altered slightly. The dates have been pushed back on some things. Some things have gone ahead and happened, but we have to realize the more we're aware, the more we do. I mean, because all of these prophets say that it can be changed. There's no doubt about it.
Including Mary,
The reason that
we'll get to that next week.
The reason that we're being warned is because, you know, it's like now or never. Do something. Otherwise, why bother telling us about it?
Right.
So, I mean, prophecies go all the way back to the Bible, even before that, actually.
Way back.
Nostradamus used to use various methods of seeing the future. He basically, what I understand is Nostradamus started off studying things such as the Kabbalah and the Jewish texts and that sort of thing, and he kind of based his belief in that. I believe.
He was a medical doctor, is how he started out. In fact, he was one of the ones that helped the plague epidemic. He helped stop it with his cleanliness and hospital procedures and stuff. And he would have been known as that if he had never gotten into the prophecy thing. He'd have been known as one of the greatest doctors in our history.
Right, he was an alchemist.
And then he became acquainted with some people who had access to the secret knowledge of the Kabbalahs and the hidden esoteric type workings, and he studied them, and I guess that's how he evolved his consciousness.
A lot of these prophets throughout time and even today used a method called scrying.
Right.
And again, this is the
Okay, now you see we have the map with the new Baton Rouge Island located and highlighted for you. So I guess when it's all over, y'all swim that direction and we'll have a place to hang out.
We can always all go to Baton Rouge and live on an island. It's okay. But seriously, okay, seriously, what was I talking about? Okay, they distracted me there for a second. Okay, Nostradamus used a method called scrying, and he used other methods as well, but he would look into a black mirror and close himself in this little cold, damp room by himself that nobody else was allowed into, and he would see these things, and he would write them down, record them. His prophecies were very, very accurate over the years. He's prophesied things such as the rise and fall of Hitler.
Right.
I'm trying to think of some of the things here. World Wars I and II.
Correct.
And
the shuttle disaster.
Yeah, the shuttle disaster. He actually talked about that. He didn't actually say space shuttle, but from what he described, it was exactly what happened. And the scary thing is, he talks about like a third world war, basically, which is all these things happening, which could be. Again,
we get into the thing of
basically what he
things
describes.
Can change.
He describes fire coming from the sky, which a lot of prophets do, and that could be anything from nuclear war to asteroids falling from the sky. I mean, it could be a range of things. And
just as a little aside, about I guess 6 or 8 years ago, I had read in my numerous readings a prophecy that came from Mary, speaking about the fact that in the coming years, the scare tactics or the media push of the fact that asteroids could hit and kill us would become just rampant. And so much so that it would become a popular icon in movies, and witness the 2 big hits recently, Deep Impact and Armageddon. So, and I read about this 6 or 8 years ago, that these movies were on their way, and that the government would use this as a push to kind of make people aware of the possibilities that are coming with these prophecies. So maybe that's the next step. Maybe the government's going to loosen up.
Someone did like some kind of comparison type thing. I don't know how they came to this conclusion, but they said that the chances of us hitting and being wiped out by an asteroid, by the whole Earth just totally being destroyed, are about the same as the chances of being killed in an airplane crash.
Right.
Because there is always that possibility. I mean, the chances of it actually happening are there. We've just been lucky.
Yeah, well, it will happen. Like the movies have said, it will happen again.
And we've talked about this on shows in the past. The number of people that are actually watching the skies and looking for these things, it's actually very scary.
Sad. It's sad.
There's like 7 places in the entire world that actually have the capability to look far enough out to find these types of things where we would know in time to try to do something.
I don't even think they're
about
covering 5% of the sky even. You know, that's the sad part. So just a little something to help you sleep tonight.
Somebody needs to wake up and do something. But that's just my opinion. Anyway, we want to tell everybody also that if you have any comments or questions about tonight's subject, which is prophecies and earth changes, please, we'd love to hear from you. We'd like to hear what you think about it.
Or if by chance you've received some message or warning or anything, because, I mean, as you see from these examples, Scallion, common guy, got struck down, the lady whose name I've forgotten already, the housewife.
Lori Toy.
These happen to everyday people. I mean, the prophets, quote unquote, from history, they weren't born to be prophets. It came upon them just like it comes upon anybody else. So it's very possible that some of our viewing audience out there have had dreams or visions. If you've had anything you want to share with us, please, by all means, call us.
Okay, the number to call.
232-4434.
Right, and we're going to take a short break, and we'll come back in a few minutes, and we'll tell you about some more prophecies.
Right.
So we'll be right back. Hi, welcome back to Reality Check. Tonight we're talking about prophecies and earth changes, and as we told you before the break, if you have anything you want to share with us regarding that topic, please give us a call. The number to call is 232-4434, and of course that's up on your screen right here. And we'd be glad to hear from you. We'll get to the calls in just a minute. Behind us, we were talking earlier about Lori Toy's prophecies. Behind us we have the Lori Toy map, which is, we've showed you on the screen the one of just the U.S., but the one behind us shows the world map, basically.
Right. Some of it's a little hard to see. In fact, right behind me, where you can't see, it shows how the equator will be. Basically, America will lie in relation to America, the country, will lie in relation to the equator about like Canada does now. We're going to move northward a little more.
Right.
When we say a shift, it's going to be global,
and there are
major.
Several things that have sunk on the map that they're everything seems to be underwater, but also there are land masses that on the map rise. As you look back here, I don't know if you can see it very well, but I don't know if there's any parts on that map that actually show what I'm talking about. Off the side here, off the west coast, maybe you can see a little bit that some land has risen there. I think it's a little piece of land there. And there is something that she calls New Lemuria. Lemuria. Sorry.
Lemuria was one of the original civilizations on this planet that became technologically advanced and lost their spiritual path and messed the earth up completely, and things had to be cleansed
Basically
away, which is
like
where we're
Atlantis.
headed. And then actually centuries later, Atlantis was the next one, which most people know about Atlantis. They've heard about it because it was written about in Plato's writings. And it's been studied, and there's been land that's been found off of Florida that has been explained that that's probably where it originated. In fact, Casey had predicted in his prophecies that land would be found, formations would be found off the coast of Florida that no one could explain. And since that time of his original prophecy, that has happened. There's big white stone blocks off the islands. I think it's Bimini. I'm pretty sure that's right. And
there's a section on your screen there that you can see. It's kind of off of Central America. Just a little offshoot there that goes down to South America, and they're calling it, I'm trying to think,
hard to read.
Jaboa, something like that.
Now these names are, this is her labels. I'm sure all this is not, again, written in stone.
Right, that's just what she's
But as you see again here at Louisiana, learn to swim.
Yeah.
That is a consistency in all the maps, is that Louisiana will be underwater.
Yeah.
And I know that doesn't sound real pleasant to those of you that are watching us right now, but
except for the Baton Rouge Island that we discovered.
yes, we do know, swim to Baton Rouge. No, we're just kidding.
That's just on one map, though. So if you go by other maps, that's not there either. So I don't think I'd take that chance. But no, we're going to go ahead and talk.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. We're going to go ahead and take a call.
Take a call.
So let's talk to Chris. Hi, Chris. Hello? Are you there?
I don't think.
Chris?
We've
Okay,
lost
I think
Chris.
we lost Chris. Chris, if you...
Call us back, Chris.
Yeah, call us back. We somehow lost you, but we'd be glad to hear from you. Please give us a call if you're still watching. I do want to mention that through the ages, not only earth changes have been prophesied, but there have been several things that people have
Right.
seen throughout the
Economic
ages.
changes, lifestyle changes.
People have used the gift of prophecy to help people to get well again, to see what's wrong with
Right.
them and how to fix it.
Casey was
Edgar
one who was,
Casey
right.
did that, as well as they call him the second Edgar Casey, Paul Solomon, which
Right.
he didn't like that title very well because he said he was his own person. But basically, Edgar Casey, if you're not familiar with him, which most people are, he was considered the sleeping prophet. They would put him in a trance-like state, and he would sit there and tell them tons of
just
things.
ramble on,
There's
literally,
just
for
so much
hours.
information that he's given, and a lot of it has.
There's a whole
come true.
institute devoted to just researching the prophecies they haven't even gotten to yet.
Right,
So.
that's the ARE, which is the Association for Research and Enlightenment,
She's
which
good.
is a wonderful group. But Casey predicted lots of things. He predicted lots of these changes. He predicted that, towards the year 2000, some of these things would be happening. But we've talked about in the past in Egypt, which we still need to touch on that some more in a future show.
Mm-hmm.
But under the paws of the Sphinx, he has said that toward the end of the 21st century, I'm not sure of the dates that he gave or anything like that, the 20th century, sorry,
Right.
that,
So you're prophesying right now.
yeah, toward the end of the 20th century, there would be a chamber found beneath the paws of the Sphinx that would hold the keys to Atlantis and several other mysteries that we haven't quite figured out yet, and many other things that would unlock lots of doors and that sort of thing. And I believe, from what I understand, I don't know if they've reopened the Giza Plateau yet, but
I haven't heard, but it had been shut down.
it was shut down for several months for restoration purposes, which 7 years ago it was restored, and they've never shut down the Great Pyramid or any part of the Giza Plateau from the public before.
Oh, and also, just as a
And-
side note, they had done seismographic imaging, and there is a chamber
There is
underneath the
something
paws,
there,
but
yeah.
the Egyptian government won't let anybody go down there to find out.
It's very difficult to get permission to do anything with Egyptian artifacts, to be able to dig in Egypt is very difficult to get permission to do that sort of thing. So people are kind of, I think personally someone's found it already and they're not saying
Right, and
anything.
again, it's the fact that people just don't, when they have knowledge that's powerful, they don't want to share it. It's just a
And-
fact of human nature.
A lot of things would completely throw off our whole state of understanding if we knew
Which is
about
part of
them,
the
so-
prophecies that this structure of society that we're living with now, the money structure, the consumerism, and all that's going to be a thing of the past. So
Another thing I'd like to recommend, another prophet, so to speak, that was really more along the Native American path.
right,
I'd
but I
say,
mean,
would,
she wasn't really that in touch till she had her little vision of
right.
old eyes, no eyes, old
Right.
eyes. Look, sorry, no eyes.
Mary Summerrain wrote several books, but I'm going to show you one here. I don't know if they can get a close-up of this, or can you get a close-up of this, possibly?
But she was
Okay.
just
But
a
anyway,
housewife.
This book right here is Phoenix Rising,
Right.
and Phoenix Rising is basically, if you're going to read a book about No Eyes by Mary Summerrain,
Right.
this is probably a good one, to
Excellent.
read. This one is basically No Eyes Visions of the Changes to Come, which is
Right.
basically old Indian prophecies, that kind
Right.
of thing. What she showed Mary Summerrain, who was totally not, like you said, not in touch with anything before she met No Eyes.
Which
in
she
the
dreamed
mountains.
about before. She
Right.
dreamed while she was still living in the city that she would be walking through this woods and meet this old Indian lady. In
Yeah.
fact, she had come to her room in her dream and told her this, that she didn't remember who she was, and told her that her name was really Summerrain. And she just blew it off till her husband had to move to a different part of the country, and they got there, and she was walking through the woods, and guess who she found? No Eyes.
And
So,
she taught her lots of stuff.
amazing series of books. I highly recommend them.
Right, and No Eyes, her prophecies kind of were in keeping
Right, they
with everything
dovetail
else that
with-
we've been
with
telling
everything
you,
else
right?
that we're
They're
speaking
all pretty
about.
much. And
Let's try to get some of these calls in.
yeah.
I see the phone is
let's go
lining
ahead
up
and
again.
talk to Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hey.
How you
Hi,
doing?
welcome to the show.
You can call me Alan. That's my real name. I was a little nervous at first, and I didn't want to use my
All
real
right.
name.
Okay.
Call me Alan T. I had a question about computers in the year 2000 yet.
Right.
Y2K programming.
Right.
I mean, is that relevant, I was wondering, to the show.
You want to see your view of it, and I'll tell you mine?
Actually, I had something here on it. FEMA, which is the Federal Emergency.
Right.
I forget what exactly.
The
it
Federal
stands for.
Emergency something.
Anyway, FEMA put out a bulletin giving a formal warning on Y2K, which is the year 2000 bug, saying get ready now on January 9th of 99. They put out a warning saying you need to start doing something now because if not, it's going to be too late and we're all going to have a big problem on our hands. From what I understand of the Y2K bug, I think that there are methods of preventing things from happening. You just have to go in, check. Yeah, to a point. You have to go in and either have someone check your computers and that sort of thing to see if your computer is set for it. Because the problem is, years ago, when they started making computers, they set everything to like be.
They didn't want to have a 4-digit date. They went with an easy 2-digit date. So that's what right.
So if it goes to 00,
Personally,
it'll be like we're back to the year 1900.
The studying I've done on it, it basically comes down to, at the point we figured out that we need to fix it, it was too late already. Because to go in and fix all these millions of lines of programming, which all our banking system, all our monetary economy, everything's based on, even if we get it all fixed right in this little area and everything's good, the first time that, that's that old adage of, mess in, mess out, to put it politely. First time we get a tainted system that locks onto the fixed system, that fixed system's no use. So at this point, there's really no way to fix it, not globally.
And I've heard
now,
recently,
personally, you can do things for your own system.
Yeah, I think banks and stuff might be messed up at least for a few days until they get it straightened out.
Yeah, they're going to have a mess to fix.
A lot of gasoline underground,
Yeah, exactly.
And bomb shelter and all. My name is Mark, by the way.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you for calling.
Thanks for calling.
Wait. I gotta do this for my friend. He's a real big fan of your show.
Okay.
Okay.
He's really sick in bed right now.
Oh, well, tell him, keep watching.
I'll give him a shout out. His name is David.
All right. Well, thank you for watching.
Hi, David, and thank you for watching.
David, get better.
Okay. Well, thanks for your call. But from what I understand, the Y2K thing is fixable if, enough people...
To a point. Again, I have a real negative view of this because I've talked to a few programmers about it and read a few things, and it doesn't look good.
I heard recently on the news that this is basically a pretty biased thing, if you ask me, that the United States is pretty much going to be okay because we can handle it.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But the rest of the world is pretty much in trouble.
As soon as we link into a system that's not, it's all, once you get contamination in the system, then everything's wrong,
Yeah, it'll take a lot of fixing. I think it will be a big problem personally, but we don't know for sure.
See what Robin
so
has
let's go
to
ahead
say
and
on
talk
two.
to Robin. Hi, Robin.
Hi. I heard recently on the news that that this Y2K thing, some of the computers weren't going to be affected by 2000, but some of them were going to be affected by 2001. I was wondering if you had heard about that, or if you have any views on that. Do you think that's going to happen, or what?
Well,
I really don't know enough about it to have an opinion one way or another.
Specifically, the details are, just too vast. But generally, like I said, individually things can be done. But as far as a global link like we have that we depend on for our economy, there's just too many countries that haven't done anything up to this instant.
Yeah,
and
we're
mess in, mess out. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
We're way too dependent on computer systems and that sort of thing for everything. I mean, everything now is run by computers.
I don't think that means everything's
scary.
going to come to a halt. I mean, things might be rough in trade and getting things. I mean, there's going to be a mess.
I think it'll be fixed or at least worked out somehow.
But we'll see. Again, it's a thing that we don't know till it happens, just like all the prophecies we're speaking about.
Yeah. Do y'all think that the monetary system is going to shut down completely?
Eventually, yes.
I think
it has to. There's no way it can survive like it is. It's all fake now. The money's not real anymore. The government prints money like they want to, basically.
Money. There's like no gold in Fort Knox backing our money.
We could do a whole show on just the money government
it.
thing. We might do that. In fact, we need to.
There's a lot of stuff.
One more question before.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering, we just covered, I studied a little bit about it, and I was just wondering, what were your views on existentialism?
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar.
Just in general terms, I mean, that's kind of off the mark of what we're speaking about.
I'm sorry, but
that's all right.
I just thought maybe you had a view, if you agreed with it or not.
If it's a path that can get you in touch with your inner God, your outer God, whatever you believe, then it's a good path for you. That's really what we try to talk about on this show. That if the path gets you in touch with a personal relationship with your Creator, then that's your path. But if you're locked into one that's just leading you on this blind, obey, dogma path, you're not learning anything about what you need to be learning. If this gets you where you need to go for it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your views. And
Thank you.
I just want to make a call out to my friend Sarah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Bye.
your call. Okay. But I mean, there are so many things that we could talk about it.
Well,
With all the Earth changes,
Right.
all these things kind of go hand in hand. The Y2K thing, the money system completely falling apart. For example, we were talking about Gordon Michael Scallion earlier, and I have here, he says that lifestyle changes after the tribulation events. The previous scenario could easily be described as bad news. Okay, let me see where I'm going with this. I'm trying to find the part that we actually need to talk about here. He says that as he looked to the year 2002, he saw a new Earth which was reborn with lush tropical settings covering many parts of the United States. He saw communities formed in rural areas with circular, clustered homes that appeared to be self-sufficiently heating.
Which has occurred in Mary Summer-Rain's visions
Right.
as well, the round homes that are in the earth.
There were no wires or cars or motors, and the people had peaceful looks on their faces, and the children were laughing. The lifespan had expanded to 150 years as an average because of the Earth's new vibrations and the consciousness of its inhabitants, which is very possible. Communications with animals will become common at this time, especially by children. Telepathy will be also commonly used to communicate. There were new flowers, plants, and trees which provided new herbal remedies for the time. Many of the diseases of the 20th century were gone, including AIDS and the other plagues of the tribulation period. Color and sound therapy were the predominant vibrations used for healing.
And we've talked about those on our
Right.
show.
In the year 2002, the world had become a lunar society guided by the intuitive, nurturing, feminine side of each person. There will be a common spiritual belief in the planet, which Gordon Michael Scallion referred to as the oneness. This was a belief in the interconnectedness of all life, one God with each being an equal part of the oneness. According to the vision of Gordon Michael, it will be a blessed time. So basically, it also goes on to say that it's interesting to note that the lifestyle change prediction of Gordon Michael Scallion agrees with the Christian biblical versions of the sensitive John in his prophetic revelations around 95 AD while on the Isle of Patmos.
Right.
So basically, it goes hand in hand with what the Bible actually says as well. So
Well, as you see the overview, and like I said, we haven't covered even the tip of the iceberg on what's out there. If you go looking for these things, they're there, you can find them. But the overview seems to be that there's going to be a lot of catastrophic Armageddon-type occurrences, but it's all going to wind up with the new, reborn, 1,000 years of peace from the biblical point. Eden, the new earth. It's going to be good when it's over. It's just that you have to have your faith
purging
right.
all of the
Just
stuff that's
flushing it away, getting all the crap
getting rid
out
of all of
here.
the bad stuff that we've polluted it with over time, and making the earth a nice, peaceful, good place to be to start over again. Basically, which
Because that's what we've done. We've turned this into a great big toilet, and we
Yeah.
have no respect for the earth as a living being, which it is, and so now it's kind of just coughing and clearing its throat and getting this mess off.
right.
And of being born anew. So
Yeah.
there's
So-
good after all the bad.
Do we have time for another call here? I'm
I
not sure.
think we do, yes.
Let's go ahead and talk to Cyrus.
Yeah, I was calling about that Y2K thing they were talking about. Actually, the issues that cover it are complex. It's not just the shifting over to a 4-year date, but it's also the way leap years are calculated.
Right. Well, we could do a whole show on that topic. We're trying to stay away from the specifics and just a general overview. But yeah, it's a mess. It really is. And at this time, it looks like a big mess. So it might get better. Who knows?
Yeah. But thanks for your information. Did you have anything else you wanted to share with us?
Well, I do think that people should start paying attention to the earth changes things going on.
Big time.
Because, I mean, look just here in Louisiana. The Mississippi, since World War II, has been wanting to change course, but the government's been doing levees and dams and everything to keep it from changing course.
The Army Corps of Engineers has pretty much let Morgan City go. They told people down there, which I used to live a little closer to, y'all just as soon get ready to move. We've done as much as we can to control this water. It's washing away,
It's
and there's
gonna
nothing
be
they can do
underwater,
about it.
and there's
So
no doubt about it,
You're
yeah.
right. This has been going on. It's a gradual thing, but the severity is about to increase. That's really what's happening.
Well, yeah, I mean, because no matter how big or strong they build a levee, it
Right.
can only hold back the Mississippi River for so long.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
So, thanks
that's
for your
about
call.
It. That's
We
all I wanted.
appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Okay, good night.
You want to try to
Okay.
squeeze James in?
Now let's go ahead and talk to James real quick. Hi, James.
Hello?
Hi, did you have a comment or a question?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you. Well, I've read a little bit lately about like comets and asteroids and what have you,
Uh-huh.
and they say a lot of these comets come from way out, from way past Pluto. And
Oh,
there's
yeah.
like a belt or an
Right.
area out there where they form,
Mm-hmm.
and that maybe at certain times, over periods of thousands of years now, at certain times it gets real active like.
Exactly. Well, that's basically what's coming. A lot of the prophecy reveals that we're cycling. I mean, the whole universe revolves around everything, and we're cycling back to an area of the universe that has an increase in this type of activity, and it will affect us just as the distance from us to the moon affects the tides. I mean, bodies that are close together, the energies affect each other. So these things are part of the prophecies. Now, as far as one actually hitting us, that's a hit and miss, no pun intended.
Nobody's
kind of
actually
thing.
sure how these
Right.
things are going to affect us, or if that's going to be one of the things that cause some of the earth changes.
But we are coming into a part of the universe we haven't been in for like 35,000 years or so.
Yeah.
So it's
So I've heard of
It's a
the
cycle.
planets
It's
are
a big
supposedly
cycle.
going to line up and things will happen from that. I've heard of like the planet actually shifting on its axis is some
reversing
people have-
rotation. It's happened. It's in
Yeah.
the Bible. The sun stood still. That can only happen if the earth stopped its rotation. Just to get
So-
back to the Bible thing.
There are several
There's
things
some
that
we
could
haven't even
happen.
covered here. That's what I'm saying. We tried to squeeze a lot in on the show, and we missed a lot. We'll try to continue forth on this, because a lot of the Mary book we'll be talking about next week discusses the
It
prophecies.
discusses a lot of
But
prophecy
more of
as
it's
well.
about how you personally can get ready for what's coming and not let this be a big fear.
Yeah, you can't run around like Chicken Little.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then you're just letting the fear control your life.
Well, let me ask you this. To find out more, don't y'all have like a website?
Yes.
Yes, we
In fact,
do.
we're
I'm gonna
about to
give-
mention that. Thank you,
I'm
man.
going to give it to you in just a second. It's on your screen right now. We will be updating it soon as well, so keep checking it. realitycheck.homepad.com is our website, so you can find out more information there, and we will have it updated
Right,
soon.
and we're going to link into some more of these prophecy type things so you can keep up with it. So
Right.
check us out for sure.
Okay, well, thanks for your call.
Thank you, my man.
Okay. Again, like we mentioned, the website is on your screen. If you need more information, we'll try to get some up there. realitycheck.homepad.com. And if you have any questions or comments about anything we've talked about, give us send us an email, realitycheck101@hotmail.com, or you can email us through the website as well. And we'd be glad to hear from you, anything you have to say. And I want to remind everybody that these are all just possibilities, and it takes each individual person to actually go out, do something, try to spread
And it's-
awareness to whoever
exactly.
you can.
It's very
try to,
simple. Prayer, meditation, concentrating
It's all
on
about enlightenment.
enlightenment
And we become
instead
more
of
enlightened.
negativity.
We start respecting the planet a little bit more. Then maybe some of these things will either at least be postponed, or
We'll definitely alleviate it.
even
As
be
we'll talk about in the Mary book
right.
next week.
So again, next week's topic is Mary's Message to the World. That's his book right here by Annie Kirkwood. It's our book of the month, and we will be talking about it next week. We're going to go into prophecies a little bit with this book as well.
Exactly.
So if you have time, please read Mary's Message to the World, and we'll talk
Easily
about
available here in
it
town.
next week. Again, if you're interested in joining a group that talks about these sorts of things, that
Right.
is trying to enlighten people spiritually, discusses spirituality, and just a sharing type of thing, basically.
Yeah, they're
Souls is a
about
new
sharing.
group that's being formed. It's called Society of Universal Light Seekers, and you can reach them through lightseekers@hotmail.com or souls.homepad.com as well. Can give you more information on that. But that's all the time we have for tonight. Please go out and do your part.
Exactly.
Do what you can, and we'll see you next week on Reality Check, and we'll talk about Mary's Message to the World. So until then, thanks for joining us.
Thank
Good
y'all.
night.